The body placement of each code also corresponds directly. The array work is more associated with Babel. Part of the challenge is bringing back the old languages that don't have the reversals. In terms of our personal own development for contact, the array work is more associated with sound. If we need more array force, then we should develop our inner hearing by utilizing sound and tones. Mana force is more keyed to visual stimulus. If we need more mana force, then we should work with the Vika codes and develop our inner sight. Induction and embedding. Direct induction. Induction and embedding of the high Vika codes into the 15-dimensional anatomy involves placing the individual symbol codes over the regions of the physical body that correspond to specific areas of the underlying Cathra grid. The body placement of each code also corresponds directly to its location in the energy shields of the body. Once the symbol is in place, the breath is used to direct D12 Maharata current through each symbol code and into the body. Use of the Maharata current carrier wave, via activation of the Maharic seal shield, is required to induce the code's mathematical program or signature into the body's Cathra grid, where the program will then naturally transfer into the corresponding areas of the level. 1 Cathra 12 tree grid core template. Optical pineal induction. Body placement induction of the high Vika codes is amplified by the use of optical pineal induction. In this process, the eyes are focused for a time upon the image of the symbol code, and using the breath, you bring the mathematical Vika code program into the pineal gland through the optical currents and sixth. In this process, the eyes are focused for a time upon the image of the symbol code, and using the breath, you bring the mathematical Vika code program into the pineal gland through the optical currents and sixth chakra. The mathematical program of the Vika code being induced then travels through the central vertical current and into the body region to which the code corresponds. Here it is embedded and induced into the corresponding location of the Cathra grid. The mathematical program goes into the template and literally turns on a program in the shield. This begins to turn on the consciousness in accordance with the program. In the beginning stages of working with optical pineal induction, it is recommended to use either a relaxed or active cross-eyed focus, whichever feels most comfortable. This sends a double, overlapping image of the symbol code into the pineal gland and facilitates the realignment of distortions in the optical region at the center of the brain. See CCR Phoenix 2003 and SYCA. Workshops for further information on the Adrana triangulation. The process of personal induction and subsequent embedding is a profound process of healing and multidimensional consciousness identity expansion. The process invokes essential Merkaba correction and directly assists in meaningful activation of the higher-level Merkabas. Embedding and activation of the Vika codes via optical pineal induction is not as powerful as the direct body placement technique, since the mathematical current of the Vika code loses charge and strength when traveling from the pineal gland into the central vertical current. The optical pineal induction is therefore used for daily amplification of the Vika code frequencies, while the direct body placement technique is used once a week. When placing Vika codes on the body, they should be placed in the appropriate place with the code facing out and the blank side of the paper touching the body. If you use Vika codes upside down, they won't work. You can put tattoos over place on body, activate your Maharic shield, and then just tone the tones while you're doing something else. You can create a continual level of activation this way. Or if you do the flame activation techniques that go with Tech 8, that will work also to keep a continual level of activation. Use with sound tone equivalents after induction to re-stimulate it, to recalibrate your emotional bodies. Place codes over areas, activate your Maharic shield, breathe D12 through each symbol, lower to higher sequence. Then begin toning the corresponding tones, sing them as a song. When working individually, repeat at least 3 times to let vibration comes in. When singing it as a whole song, sing the whole song 3 times, singing each code song once in each sequence. It not only brings in power, but also brings in the presence of your God self. And when you speak it, you are giving it a D5-dimensional twist that actually hits your 5th strand template. So by reading it, you get it on D3, but when it's verbal, it's being transmitted through the 5th chakra. It's carrying D5 subharmonics. So you can get an extra push behind the sound tones. It can give you a head start on sequencing things. Moving through the 5 high Vika codes, spend 3 to 4 minutes gazing, focusing with the cross-eyed approach for each card, and using the tones with them. The basic way to do the Vika code song for the first time. Use the given form, Then move to variance on a personal level with your interaction with what is not inanimate something, but something that is alive animate consciousness. A representation of a being, the codes are alive. And when you hold them in your hand and you perform this tune in your private space and you begin to feel that being feeling you, then you know you're working with the Vikas. To help you do this, the beloveds suggested we use half-octave increments, so you go from a relatively low level and then up. Activating with sound. Vika codes are very specific symbol codes, each possessing corresponding sound tones or areas. When we begin to use the ancient sound tones, the whole tones, the tones of the words themselves, the vibrational patterns, we call more and more of that living life force into our embodiment, and with this comes more of our at-one-ment. The ancient sound tones are their real names. Using them brings more of the at-one-ment into our fields. Practice each set of Vika tones by themselves while fixating on the code. Take one at a time and simply stare at it, and while you are, pronounce the tone. After you stare for a while, they start shifting focus. There is a place where you get your focus, where you can see the realities of energy behind the hologram. Take the symbol code and go sit in a dimly lit space. And just focus on it. Let the image talk to you and talk back to it with the tones. This begins the process of inducing into the pineal the mathematical program. Start once per day. It's important to run them while we're vertical, because the Kundalini does something differently than when we're reclining. When you're inducing it, you'll have more energy available if you pay attention to your posture. The idea is to be able to hold frequency while conscious in the body. Reclining will cause us to more easily fall asleep. Start with 3 to 5 minutes per code using the tone. The longer the toning is sustained, the greater will be the quantity of Vika code activation. When you can draw the code without looking at the picture, that's when you know you have it fully induced, or remember all the components. When we tone the ancient sound tones, the whole tones, the tones of the words themselves, the vibrational patterns, we call more and more of that living life force into our embodiment, and with this comes more of our at-one-ment. All languages came out of the original patterns of the divine blueprint and consciousness currents, and sound tones are the vibrations that sound tones made, such as mana came from mana. When used with the temporary Maharic seal, toning of the Vika code names, auditory translation of their core mathematical vibration. Mu, ava, ha, sha, shardazi, drew, a, ja, and ek ka. Activates corresponding mathematical codes in the DNA template, expediting embodiment of the personal D12 prematter divine blueprint and corresponding levels of personal expanded consciousness. Use of the Vika codes expands personal consciousness while activating personal Christos, Trion-Mej field, primal life force fields. We can create our own personal Trion-Mej fields, our own way of linking into universal Trion-Mej fields. This is the way we get into right probability when two polarity fields separate. If you work with these codes, you'll be able to link. You'll have your sound pillar that will anchor you into the right time vector instead of getting sucked into black hole matrix. Using the tones will allow us to sing our way through stargates. Putting the codes in visually and holding that pattern on the body will help the templates to activate faster, but it's hard to remember them. In the old day, you would have to know how to draw one code before you went on to the next. The symbols are not just symbols, but are mathematical patterns that go with specific scalar waves in your shields. Everything is composed of the units of the consciousness of God, which means the scalar shields that are a part of you that is a part of God are alive. They're not just inanimate things that you can keep track of with numbers and symbols. This means the Vika codes themselves are beings that hold knowledge and identity. The Vika codes give natural mathematical sequencing of running primal light and sound fields current into the body and biofields in a way that is natural for the body to process it. We each have a part of our own being that manifests as these types of light and sound forms. They're in our shields with us. We use them to activate the shields, the mathematical templates which tell consciousness and the primal life source currents our bodies are made from which way to bend light and move sound in order to create the three-dimensional hologram. Shields directly connect to Merkaba and are the control mechanisms for Merkaba, and Merkaba is a natural biological machine that circulates the primal currents and primal consciousness through our fields. They can teach us things. We can meditate with an Akasha, do the optical pineal induction for a little bit, then just start having a telepathic conversation with it. Before too long, it might start talking back. It will communicate with you. Each code has a different personality. They're different identities. When we use a picture of a code, We're actually bringing the energy signature of that being up. They become actual energy links directly into your system. Everything out here is a holographic projection. Consciousness projects. We see the hologram because of what is held within our DNA. When working with symbols, programs affect certain parts of our DNA that affect our perception. The ECA and VICA codes go into the core of the shields, creating large levels of activation. Consciousness and the shields are connected. The shield anchors consciousness. We need VICA codes to be able to block psychotronic transmissions, which are scalar pulses with disharmonic waveforms. They can be used for master grid mechanics, and will build more quickly protection fields in our biofields. They build sound fields as a buffer in our fields, the only way to clear the progressive layers of Jehovian seals. In addition, symbol codes activate the locks. Sans and the Anahazi language activate the nodes. Using both activates all. Thought process and the transduction sequence. VICA codes help clear miasms in the DNA. With DNA distortions, you also have consciousness distortions. Whatever we have in our mind is picked up as a template. It's bounced back up, but eventually if you keep energizing a particular thought or pattern of crystalline kalins, you will give it enough energy where it will manifest itself outside of yourself where you will see it. These would be the thought forms that are made from thought frequency, where you would put the intention in and send it back to the Manu so that you could manifest it in your hologram. Currently, due to the distortions, you would only manifest part of it. The 12 attitudes of mastery are very important. Our thought patterns embed in the DNA template and create chemical realities in our bodies that will either help us through a stargate or stop us from going through. The contents of our consciousness manifest in chemical terms within the DNA and the body. That body's chemicals will determine whether it can actually ascend or not. The transduction sequence is a manifestation process by which thought becomes physical stuff. If there are distortions in the grid, it begins to form miasms in the body. Miasms are antiparticle buildup in the particle field. This buildup throws off the natural electromagnetic charge ordered pattern of energy that blocks the flow, rather than allows the flow of primal life force currents, also called our karmic pattern. Karma is a buildup of miasmic residue from other lifetimes. Our DNA is linked not only to our parallel self right now, right here, but it is linked to our 1727 other selves, which means they're in their space-time frames. If they're in a personal or planetary drama that they're starting to have distortions in their DNA template, in any of their electromagnetic fields, those things get recorded in their DNA. When your DNA hits a certain activation level, it has a co-resonant vibration, which means the information that's in their DNA template starts to come up to yours and you send some back to theirs. Karma isn't something that you are born with in the way that you picked it up last time you died and took it here. It's literally an immediate connection, just like our connection to God. It isn't something that happened once upon a time when we were created. It's here every moment. The karmic imprint comes through every moment. The more we work with VICA codes, the more we are able to clear the stuff we already have and to catch the new stuff as it comes up and to put it right back into its correct mathematical sequence. All our radial bodies are carrying distortions. As we work with the mathematics contained in the VICA codes, they are restoring original mathematical imprints. Miasms are twists of energy that have reverse mathematics compared to what they should have, and they block energy and create separation and polarization instead of allowing energy to flow harmoniously. Miasms are in our scalar template, our shields like burned-out light bulbs. VICA codes help clear miasms in the DNA and will help in radial body clearing. They will begin to clear distortions on the radial body level and start to restore the original memory matrix. They are the fastest way to work with the memory matrix and get faster control over thought manifestation. Miasms are antiparticle buildups in the particle field created by reversals in the scalar template. They will change what you're trying to manifest. If you have a DNA template with distortions and Merkaba with distortions, they're coming because there are distortions in the planetary and subsequently in the personal Cathra grid. And if it's in the Cathra grid, it manifests itself all the way up through every sequence. This is why we've lost control of our manifestation process and don't realize we're manufacturing our hologram as we go along. Our personal Templar and Templar are microcosmic reflections of each other. Our radial body is really our memory matrix. Distortions in our radial body messes with our memory matrix. The magnetosphere is our planetary radial body. Therefore, there are also distortions in the planetary memory matrix. Everything out here is a holographic projection. Consciousness projects. We see the hologram because of what is held within our DNA. When working with symbols, programs affect certain parts of our DNA that affect our perception. The ECA and VICA codes go into the core of the shields, creating large levels of activation. Consciousness and the shields are connected, for shields anchor consciousness. The symbols are not just symbols, but mathematical patterns that go with specific scalar waves in your shields. They build more quickly a protective sound field as a buffer in our biofields. The symbols give the natural mathematical sequencing of running primal light and sound fields current into the body and biofields in a way that is natural for the body to process it. We need to activate our shields. The shields are mathematical templates that tell consciousness and the primal life source currents our bodies are made from which way to bend. Light and move sound in order to create the three-dimensional hologram. Shields also directly connect to our Merkaba and are the control mechanisms for Merkaba. And Merkaba is a natural biological machine that circulates the primal currents and primal consciousness through our fields. Inducing VICA codes within the body is quite simple. Using stamps puts the mathematics right into the energy system of your body, and then when you run energy in a certain way you amplify that, and you bring it directly and very quickly into your template. The sons we've been using are the activation tones for VICA codes within the body. When we use VICA codes or ECA codes, we are literally putting the mathematical program back into the radial body. That's the fastest way to get it into the Cathra grid to clear the core template, and it's also helping the planet as well. It's activating DNA. As it goes along, it's clearing DNA because DNA is part of this transduction sequence. It's quite an early part, so if we put the code in here, it gets sent out very quickly through the DNA, very quickly into the hologram. Then comes back around again and goes back out and clears the stuff behind it. So, it's the most rapid way to create change as well. Once these codes are imbued in your body, it means it has activated the particle into the hologram. Then comes back around again and goes back out and clears the stuff behind it. So, it's the most rapid way to create change as well. Once these codes are imbued in your body, it means it has activated the potentialities that you can rapidly make the shift and angular rotation of particle spin. The VICA code technologies help us clear the radial body distortions and regain the ability to undergo radial body merger at will. This then allows us to activate the multiple levels of our natural Merkaba vehicle, facilitating activation of the flame body in preparation for biological ascension. Each time we work with the VICA code technologies, we release more and more levels of the radial body locks, which hold the levels of the radial body separate from each other. Once activated, the VICA code programs travel upward though the stages of the transduction manifestation sequence from the Cathra grid to the shields into the Kalan crystal body morphogenetic field, then into the Merkaba field, DNA template, and Hova body/radial body levels, temporarily restoring the Christiak Merkaba field, radial body, and memory matrix divine blueprint. Frequent and continued use of the VICA codes will progressively build critical mass of the divine blueprint program simultaneously within all levels of the 15-dimensional anatomy, eventually culminating in expedited full restoration of the D12 Maharic shield blueprint within the body-mind-spirit system, via the radial body Trianmij field. As the radial bodies fold up together, we turn back into light. The Ayani suggests that if we want to take our body with us after death, that if we want to physically go to the inner Eka inner Earth, then we need to work with the VICA codes to get the evolutionary acceleration that they provide. VICA codes are specialized geomancies that are radial body codes, codes that hold programs for radial body, control opening and closing of radial body capsules. There is a certain sequence to them. VICA codes give us the potential to progressively restore the natural radial bodies, the natural sound tones, and light frequencies of the primal currents and primal forces as they run through us, and our hologram will progressively clean itself up. The VICA codes allow us to activate in the body the currents of consciousness that will allow us to develop a relationship with birds, plants, animals, and beings from other places. They allow us to develop a relationship with beings of other space-time periods. You can telepath with them to learn information needed to develop. It's not the words, it's the vibration underneath them. That's what birds understand. The Ayani speak in direct cognition, as do animals and plants. Song of Lyra. The Song of Lyra is a decree to bring Christos' presence in and anchor it. You're making a statement, a command. If you feel you need more of your true self anchored in this manifest reality and need reinforcement, you can use this. It's encoded in the song. You're invoking I am, saying I am my avatar, rallying all your 1728 selves, sending a frequency out to other time vectors, and mobilizing the energy of all of you, linking with and being as your total self. To do a healing, or even if you're on a plane with a terrorist, you start singing the Song of Lyra to yourself while holding an intention that peace be restored and the highest Christos be restored right now immediately. You push the energy into the pattern you've set. The pattern is the intention. You can affect change and shift the energy with it. There's a state of consciousness, your wholeness you can feel when you're the energy of the song. When you sing this song, it's you and your Christos self saying you're going to be one now. You're calling in your avatar self. The more you sing this, the faster it happens. It brings in frequency, along with a level of protection, stability, and peace. The more you use it, the better you'll get at staying in full alignment. It's the sound tones. They can make the difference on whether the founders can anchor the Christos template. The song will anchor beginning frequencies that will allow Vika codes to work their best. It will amplify the D12 frequencies and get you in full alignment with your Christos self. Sound is the core of frequency behind light manifestation, which is actually refracted sound. Light can deceive, but sound always tells the truth. They can make the difference on whether the founders can anchor the Christos template. The song will anchor beginning frequencies that will allow Vika codes to work their best. It will amplify the D12 frequencies and get you in full alignment with your Christos self. Sound is the core of frequency behind light manifestation, which is actually refracted sound. Light can deceive, but sound always tells the truth. The sound and the frequency behind it, which is the most powerful, the sound tones, are the power. The Guardian Alliance wants us to sing this song to open meetings, as an opening prayer, etc. It creates a protection field, creates a platform of D12 in the room. Space you're working with blocks people's ability to mess with you. The Song of Lyra activates DNA and planetary grids. It has certain combinations of sound tones that activate very specific parts of the planetary grids and ley lines, meridians, DNA strands, and axiotonal lines in your body. Bring the Song of Lyra into public places. Use your presence as a frequency carrier in public. You can assist those within a 10 to 20 miles radius, if you've had a regent ordination. You sing it to yourself and bring the energy in. You're helping others link into the Trianmege field by going into public and offering others' avatar selves assistance, mentally, and then singing the Song of Lyra and the Vika codes. Become one with the tones of the song. Sing it with the feeling of evoking divine right order right now. Get a feeling of the energy you should be bringing in, feel that tone, move with it. Try to feel yourself as a face of God, a spark of source, to anchor whatever is divine right order right now. This is the feeling of the energy you need to bring in, and what will give you the ability to stimulate it in others. Once you get that, you can combine it with Vika tones, go out into a public place, and put out a mental note to all the avatars, D12 or higher, of the people and offer the triggering into activation of their Maharic shield. Say you're here to assist, and let them know that the energy you generate will stimulate temporarily into activation the Maharic shield of all the consciousnesses in the area. However, for it to hold, it's up to the Christos avatar of the person. Offer the avatar the opportunity, because due to the conscious personality, the avatar hasn't been able to access the grounding field or anchoring field you've set. It helps the avatar link into Trianmege fields. However, only do this if you feel your fields are strong. When you can see yourself glowing with that pillar of light around you, and feel it running through you, then go out, sing tones to yourself. On every exhale, breathe, feel them run down your feet, out your Maharic shield, and feel your Maharic shield expand out over many miles, triggering the Maharic shield of everything it touches. See all the discs light up under people's feet. At this point, your service is done. Now it's up to the avatar self whether to hold the activation. You're building a grounding, anchoring field that others can link into. Your disc will spark others' discs into activation. This way, when the shift happens, they won't end up in a black hole matrix. Their avatar will help them hold the Mege field, so they don't end up in black hole matrix. 15-dimensional structure and Cathra grid. The basic 15-dimensional structure is a symbol code, which allows a certain set of frequencies to convey the consciousness reality of what a 15-dimensional structure really is. It helps by using discs light up under. You can combine it with now creates a platform foundation which is your best. It will it brings in frequency along with a level of protection, stability, and peace. The more you use it, the better you'll get at staying in full alignment. It's the sound tones. They can make the difference on whether the founders can anchor the Christos template. The SON will anchor beginning frequencies that will allow Vika codes to work their best. It will amplify the D12 frequencies and get you in full alignment with your Christos self. Sound is the core of frequency behind frequencies that will allow Vika codes to work their best. It will amplify the D12 frequencies and get you in full alignment with your Christos self. Sound is the core of frequency behind light manifestation, which is actually refracted sound. Light can deceive, but sound always tells the truth. The sound and the frequency behind it, which is the most powerful, the sound tones, are the power. The Guardian Alliance wants us to sing this song to open meetings, as an opening prayer, etc. It creates a protection field, creates a platform of D12 in the room. Space you're working with blocks people's ability to mess with you. The Song of Lyra activates DNA and planetary grids. It has certain combinations of sound tones that activate very specific parts of the planetary grids and ley lines, meridians, DNA strands, and axiotonal lines in your body. Bring the Song of Lyra into public places. Use your presence as a frequency carrier in public. You can assist those within a 10 to 20 miles radius, if you've had a regent or singing the Song of Lyra and the Vika codes. Become one with the tones of the song. Sing it with the feeling of evoking divine right order right now. Get a feeling of the energy you should be bringing in, feel that tone, move with it. Try to feel yourself as a face of God, a spark of source, to anchor whatever is divine right order right now. This is the feeling of the energy you need to bring in, and what will give you the ability to stimulate it in others. Once you get that, you can combine it with Vika tones, go out into a public place, and put out a mental note to all the avatars, D12 or higher, of the people and offer the triggering into activation of their Maharic shield. Say you're here to assist, and let them know that the energy you generate will stimulate temporarily into activation the Maharic shield of all the consciousnesses in the area. However, for it to hold, it's up to the Christos avatar of the person. Offer the avatar the opportunity, because due to the conscious personality, the avatar hasn't been able to access the grounding field or anchoring field you've set. It helps the avatar link into Trianmage fields. However, only do this if you feel your fields are strong. When you can see yourself glowing with that pillar of light around you, and feel it running through you, then go out, sing tones to yourself. On every exhale, breathe, feel them run down your feet, out your Maharic shield, and feel your Maharic shield expand out over many miles, triggering the Maharic shield of everything it touches. See all the discs light up under people's feet. At this point, your service is done. Now it's up to the avatar self whether to hold the activation. You're building a grounding, anchoring field that others can link into. Your disc will spark others' discs into activation. This way, when the shift happens, they won't end up in a black hole matrix. Their avatar will help them hold the Mage field, so they don't end up in black hole matrix. 15-dimensional structure and Cathra grid. The basic 15-dimensional structure is a symbol code, which allows a certain set of frequencies to convey the consciousness reality of what a 15-dimensional structure really is. It helps by using this symbol. A relationship with a symbol code requires basic etiquette. You can't just boss them around. A friend which gave itself specifically to me without any judgment and said you may use this to create anything you choose without any judgment, a field of love, co-creative relationship. We have two Cathra grids on the chart, one that comes from the primal sound field, and one set that comes down 24 points of primary focus that sets the pattern for the dimensional structure. The Cathra grid is the core template mathematical blueprint of everything in the time matrix. The original thought held in the Manu. How the Manu organizes itself and its relationships with itself and energy terms to create a reality field 3D holographic experience in this reality field. The 0 point happens where 12 connects with one of the next one upward towards the primal fields. There are geomancies in the Cathra centers, which are the consciousnesses that are holding the intention of keeping the manifestation framework in order. Your Cathra centers are beings, part of your consciousness. Energy is consciousness, and consciousness is energy. Therefore, everything is a being. We're talking about being structure as well as thing structure. You must recognize that array, Manu, and Mana are forces of consciousness before you can successfully direct them to do much. The paths of the currents would all come through 12, then split. Manu, 12, 9, 6, 3, 1 path of Amoreie. Mana, 12, 11, 8, 5, 2, 1. Ere, 12, 10, 7, 4, 1. Each level they break down, the vibration changes, therefore the name of the current changes. End up with a string of names. To evoke and bring into activation in your body those particular currents of energy, you would choose which ones by their sound, by their vibration, and speak it. And that would allow it to go out in your hologram, bounce back in, and the breath would carry it back into your template where it would manifest in your body. In order to transmute, go through a stargate, and pop up on Terra, you need to change the chi ray, key into prana, mana, and treya. Once you clear and heal the system where it's capable of doing Merkaba, it's easy to get to where you want to go once you know the sounds. You simply think them to yourself, and the vibration sends you there instantly. The vibration is the thought, the direction. Activating the natural Manu Vika codes will begin freeing us up from the reversals. They are activated by the Surya tones sound tones. If you've been using the high Vika codes and they're already active in your system, by using the Manu codes, you can start to feel and experience results rather quickly. The Manu consciousness doesn't think like we do, doesn't believe, just knows. Manu holds the common knowing. Ere and Mana each has a piece, but not the whole. When starting to work with the void Manu codes, they will start to bring back the pieces into a whole, into a natural state of harmonization. Vika and Eka code lock keys. The numbers have the names we are becoming familiar with. These correspond with these. Some of them you notice have two numbers, like 2 and 7, 5 and 10. This means that both of those codes control the seal. When we do ascension, we literally kind of fold ourselves back a light and its field together, and they would be brought together. It's a much faster level of activation. What needs to be done in these universal systems? The Vikas control locks that are between densities. The combination of codes would open the two. If we want to go all the way up to the Eka, we need to open all the Vikas. If we open all of these, activate all of these codes, it opens all the density locks in our Vika system, so we can go into the Eka system. If we were just going to go to density 2, then we would just have to open L1 and use Vikas 4 and 9. Every time we work with the Vika codes, we're putting in the programs that go with the density locks that are in our shields and our radial bodies. So we are releasing the radial body locks so we can pass through the voids and expand very rapidly. The Vika and Eka code lock keys chart is very important because it shows you what we're doing when we're playing with these Vikas. Vikas and Ekas are mathematical coordinates that open these particular locks that will allow for this and this to come together, and this to come together. It will allow this mathematical configuration in your shield to fully activate and come together, so you can literally turn your body into light and get in the gates to go up. It begins to give you the key so you can see which locks are being opened by which specific Vika or Vika combinations. And there would be another level for the Ekas. The Vika codes and Eka codes help release the density lock seals in the radial bodies so all the frequencies can blend together, so you can roll yourself up in a ball of light and sound and do a Merkaba and get out of the Vika system and go into the Eka system. The Eka codes will do the same and allow you to go from the Eka to the Akasha level. Each level has that level of codes. The Vika code activations also begin the activation of the void seals. The Vika and Eka codes are the override codes, the fast way. Usually a radial body opens when all the little seals release. This fast way allows the radial bodies to open to each other. It's really the fastest way to ascend. In looking at the chart, draw the lines from the oval to see what lock it connects with, opens up the 2 to each other. If you open 7 and 10, it triggers 8 and 9 into opening. The Ayahaya opens D13 center lock 4. Code 1 opens the D12 center lock. Start with a lock and see what oval it connects with, then draw a line right through the oval to the other lock it connects to. It literally opens up the 2 to each other. We're building the Crux Sensation Akasha Merkaba field. Sacred alphabet of the God language. Signs, seals, and scepters. The signs, seals, and scepters are sacred mathematical programs by and through which the domains within God's cosmic house of many mansions, stairway to heaven, are perpetually created and maintained. These divine mathematics represent the sacred alphabet of the God language expressed visually as encoded master symbols, vocally as master sons, and tactically as master Sayur movements, suryas. Symbols, sounds, and movements. These are the sacred God languages, literally how creation was formed, the original creation languages. Signs. The Vika code symbols, also called the 12 vehicles of mobility. High Vikas of Emmanuel and the Immanuyanas. These apply to DNA template strands 1.5 to 12.5. Full activation of the Vikas opens the radial body Vika passages between the 14 manifestation fields in the 4 Vika quadrants of the 7 higher and lower heavens, and the 15th manifestation field of the Eka lower inner God world, the entry point, receiving station, to the Master's rooms in the House of Many Mansions. Passage through the Eka inner world gates is required to move from the Vika worlds of the 7 higher or lower heavens into any of the 4 God worlds, Akasha, Ekashue, Ekashura, and Unisai. The Vika codes are also pass keys that allow for specific activation of the personal DNA and Merkaba, by which a mortal being can progressively reclaim the divine heritage of spiritual and biological passage into the manifest domains of eternal life creation. The sacred ascended God worlds of the Eka, Akasha, Ekashure, Ekashura, and the Unisai, where only true ascended spiritual masters can reside. Vika code activation in the DNA template creates temporary 12th subharmonic activation of the 12-strand DNA template and corresponding temporary activation of the 12-dimensional 12.5 subharmonic Manu phase, 1 Akasha Merkaba vehicle. The vehicle needed to pass through the base 12.5 gates to the Eka inner lower God world. Vika code activation also allows beings with less than 12 active strands of base 12 DNA to link into the base 12 planetary fields for temporary shift into the Eka with the planetary radial body during stellar activation cycles. Vika codes open passage from Vika worlds 7 higher and lower heavens to the Eka inner lower God worlds, the first level of the Eka worlds. Seals. The Eka code symbols, Akasha corridor codes, also called the 12 postures of residency. Eka codes apply to DNA template strands 2 to 24. Full activation of the Ekas opens the radial body Eka passages between the Eka inner lower God world and the 4 Akasha corridors and 22 manifestation fields of the Akasha middle God worlds. These are the codes that will allow you not only to go through using the Vikas into the Ekas, but then you can use the Ekas to go up into Akasha level. Eka code activation in the DNA template creates temporary 24th subharmonic activation of the 24-strand DNA template and corresponding temporary activation of the 12-dimensional 24 subharmonic phase, 2 Imanu Akasha Merkaba vehicle. The vehicle needed to pass through the base 12, 24 subharmonic gates to the 22 manifestation fields of the Akasha middle God worlds. Eka code activation allows beings with less than 24 active strands of base 24 DNA to link into the base 24 inner lower God world planetary fields for temporary shift into the Akasha worlds with the planetary radial body during stellar activation cycles. Scepters. The 12 scepter codes, Ekashure codes. These apply to DNA template strands 2 to 26. Full activation opens the radial body Ekashure passages between the 4 Akasha middle God world corridors and the 4 Ekashure spectra and 96 manifestation fields of the Ekashure higher God worlds. Scepter code activation in the DNA template creates temporary 36th subharmonic activation of the 36-strand DNA template and corresponding temporary activating of the 12-dimensional 36 subharmonic phase, 3 Emmanuel Akasha Merkaba vehicle. The vehicle needed to pass through the base 12, 36 subharmonic gates to the 96 manifestation fields of the Ekashure higher God worlds. Scepter code activation also allows beings with less than 36 active strands of base 36 DNA to link into the base 36 Akasha middle God world planetary fields for temporary shift into the Ekashure worlds with the planetary radial body during stellar activation cycles. The 12 scepter codes also allow beings within all of the heavens and God worlds to bioenergetically link into the Ryush pillar scepter arcs of the planetary galactic universal God world Cruxensation fields from the cosmic radial body for various reasons, such as direct manifestation through Sayur sculpting, protection from localized planetary influences, acceleration of the evolutionary cycle through time leap, relocation to other time matrices via host matrix contracts, or Eka evacuation from distressed planetary environments. Eka codes and scepter codes have to do with activations in the bioenergetic fields, in the radial body, and in the DNA and the consciousness that make the difference between being stuck in the 7 higher or lower heavens down here in our 15D time matrix, or being able to go into the God worlds. Both Vika and Eka codes must reach a critical mass of sustainable activation within the personal DNA template before activation of the scepter codes can occur. Activation of the Vika, Eka, and scepter codes properly awakens the 12 Ryush scepters in the body to build the Akasha Merkaba and merge personal radial body levels. Ryushas, codes of the Templar, govern the Ekashara level. Once sustainable activation of the 12 Ekashara scepter codes occurs, the 12 Templar Ryush codes of the God Seed Ekashara template pillars, Templars, within the Ekashara God core highest God worlds can begin activation. Templar Ryush code activation in the DNA template creates temporary 48th subharmonic activation of the 48-strand DNA template and corresponding temporary activation of the 12-dimensional, 48 subharmonic phase for Imanuya's Akasha Merkaba vehicle. The vehicle needed to pass through the base 12, 48 subharmonic gates to the infinite manifestation fields of the Ekashara God core from which all other cosmic matrices can be accessed. Templar Ryush code activation also allows beings with less than 48 active strands of base 48 DNA to link into the base 48 Ekashara God core planetary galactic universal fields for temporary shift into the Ekashara worlds with the planetary radial body during stellar activation cycles. Density lock seal and heliotalic passage. We have gates and locks, and keys, the specific mathematical patterns in our shields that when turned on run the specific frequencies that create the correct vibrations to open the locks and the gates that allow us to pass. Those keys are expressed as symbols, consolidated, compact, mathematical symbol codes. These symbols are the mathematical programs that when run through your consciousness into the right parts of your body and your template, will activate the corresponding frequencies. Every symbol has a tone, a sound vibration that goes with it. Using either a symbol or a tone, or both, that is the key for one of the locks or the gates, you could hum yourself through a star gate. You don't have to have all sorts of fancy calculators to keep track of really wild mathematics for you. It's that simple. The ancient sciences are as complex as you want them to be. Every one of these symbols can be translated numerically, but not with numbers here. It's a base 12 system, and literally, the math here isn't big enough to translate the mathematics of these. These are like megacomputer programs that make our computers look like tiny little calculators compared to them. So, when we work with the symbol codes, we are working with the keys to the gates and to the locks. The locks become very important. If you can open the locks, they trigger the opening of the gates. So, when we're working with building our own flame bodies and getting our template activated as fast as possible, the fastest thing to work with are the lock codes. They will create more rapid template activation and more rapid shield activation than using the gate codes themselves that are coded into the body. Opening of the Vika density lock seals in the Ekavika body is the first step to initiate Eucatharista flame body activation. Vika and Eka codes open the shield templates to transcendent Eucatharista body life source currents for flame body activation. Vika codes open the radial body locks between the Vika quadrants and the Eka core of the Ekavika body, allowing passage of the heliotalic currents into the manifest density body. Eka codes open the radial body locks between the Ekavika body level 1 and the Akasha body level 2 of the Eucatharista flame body. Flame body activation occurs through depolarization of density radial body levels and merger of corresponding levels of consciousness and auric field. When Vika codes are fully activated, the radial body levels merge to form the Cruxensation Akasha Merkaba field. Vika codes are also one set of the flame codes, which are also Eucatharista shield codes. 5 sets of Eucatharista shield codes open the flow of primal life force and life source currents between each of the standing wave flame body spheres of the Eucatharista body and God source. The 5 sets are the Vika, Eka, Scepter, Templar Ryush, and Christ codes. The shield codes are also called heliotalic passage codes. Vika codes open radial bodies between the Vika and Eka. Eka codes open radial bodies between the Eka and Akasha. Scepter codes open radial bodies between the Akasha and Ekashe. Templar Ryush codes open radial bodies between the Ekashe and Ekashara. Christ codes open flow between the Ekashara and life source. The Eucatharista shield codes are encoded within the scalar templates of the dimensional and density shields and replicated within the axiom and DNA templates as dimensional fire letters, subfrequency bands. The shield codes, access to Eucatharista body currents and flame body activation remains dormant until Eucatharista shield codes are brought into activation via flame body technologies. Flame body activation initiates the flow of eka-heliotalic and Eucatharista currents within the axiom and DNA template and axiom lines, initiating corresponding life source current activation within the atomic connection in preparation for biophysical cellular activation of ethos-etheric and transcendent flame body currents. The linking sequence technique series of Cathra 2 shield technologies followed by the consolidated Vika code induction, Vika Mahadra 1212 cosmic crystal electrical, are sufficient to initiate subharmonic activation of the Ekavika shield codes to initiate Ekavika flame body subharmonic activation. Sustained application of flame body activation technique 8, when used with Vika code technologies, progressively activates the personal ionic shield, trivector-based 12 Akasha Merkaba vehicle and personal crux sensation, Manu window, around the physical body and within the nucleic core of atoms. Sustained activation of the full Amore EA flame body for a period of 4 to 6 years transforms the personal bioenergetic field into a walking portal safe zone that is capable of interfacing directly with the universal Stargate system from any Earth location. Once fully activated, going into the full atomic core, you become a gate site. Once ascended out of a 15-dimensional Vika universe time matrix, further ascension into full at-one-ment with Source can be achieved through progressive activation building of the Eka, Akasha, Ekasha-A, Ekasha-A, Eucatharista eternal flame bodies.